So let's talk about parenthood. I think, it's interesting. There's a woman on the internet, so forgive me, I can't remember her name, but she talks about when a woman becomes a mother, you go through what's known as matrescence. It's such a great, and I never heard this word before, matrescence. I'm going to have her on the show, actually. And,
Matrescence?
Matrescence, much like when a girl gets her period, she enters adolescence. It's a rite of passage. You have a baby and now you're forever changed. Children, we were just talking about it in the kitchen. Like, you have a kid, it's awful. It's fucking the best awful thing that's ever happened to you. And now I can't remember what my life was before I had. Like, what the fuck did we do with our time? What did it all mean? And it's a growing pain. You have to grow into the father. You have to grow into a mother. It doesn't just happen overnight.
You do. I mean, you're allowed to fantasize about the old days.
I do all the time.
Oh my God.
Like just sleeping in. Remember that?
Piles of ketamine. God of War. Who cares? Wake up at 3, do more ketamine, play God of War. Oh, a week went by. I didn't put a podcast out this week. Whatever. I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, those are, I think that I like that I did all that. I feel like, I think what can happen is if you're super young and have kids, you didn't get to do all that shit. So you have more of a fantasy that like it was doing something for you. That like,
that's true.
And then that's where you can go really nuts because you're like, shit, man, if I was like doing piles of ketamine and playing God of War, then I'd be happy.
I know.
It doesn't really work. I mean, it doesn't work.
But here's the thing. The older I get, the more I'm like, I'm kind of 14 pregnancy because it's the best time biologically and physically to have a kid. Imagine, like, I'm 16, my body would just bounce right back after pumping that kid out. And then you hand it off to your mom, and your fucking mom raises it, your mom and your dad, because they're young.
Yeah.
And then you get your life back by 33, bro.
Right.
It's kind of a win-win, teen pregnancy. I'm advocating it.
That is so wild that you would say that because we are actually, that's like one of the things we're promoting right now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Raytheon.
Not just Raytheon, but like there's actually a conglomeration of all the weapons manufacturers in the world. It's called the Darkwing Project. But yeah, we're promoting teen pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Get pregnant, teens. It's a great time to get pregnant too.
It is. The world is only getting better.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is with Raytheon. Can I ask you this? Do you think, my hair looks amazing. Do you think that the world is actually getting worse and worse? Or are we just a product of middle age where every generation thinks that it's the end of the world?
It is the end of the world.
You don't think people thought this way in the 60s when the hippies were destroying the status quo and Vietnam and
that was the end of the world too. Like I don't know. Like if you look at like geologic time, 100 years is a blink of an eye. Like 200 years is a blink of an eye. So
it's
if
irrelevant.
You look at like what's happening all over the planet, we've got so many different ways the world could end.
I know.
So I would say it probably is the end of the world. Now, does that mean it ends in the next 50 years or 100 years or 200 years? Maybe we'll make it 500 years. But it doesn't matter because if you have a body, it's the end of the world for you. You're gonna apocalyptize eventually. So I think probably it is the end of the world all the time.
All the time. You think it's every generation thinks it is so, and it empirically is so. You're right, because maybe things shift, tectonic plates and weather and religion and identity and culture. It all does.
Yeah.
Kind of come to ends and beginnings and
all these revolutions, the industrial revolution, technological revolution.
There you go.
We're about to hit the singularity. I mean, the world in 10 years.
What's the singularity?
Oh, don't get me started on the fucking
Are you selling something?
Wait,
are you selling a bucket for the singularity? Is there a survival bucket we can buy?
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that.
Sure.
You're doing so good.
Thanks.
Guys, our survival buckets are filled with cyanide. It's just one actually cyanide tablet so that when you realize when the event happens and you realize why would I even want to survive? I guess survival bucket is the wrong word for it, but
sorry.
our ad person said we should just call it a survival bucket.
You will sell more that way.
That's what they said.
Yeah. I got you.
I think that you can look at it as probably the end of the world if it helps you validate your sense that things are running amok or whatever. It's no fun to be like, or is it just me? I mean, things are running amok all the time.
But is it that we're more privy to knowing just how crazy things are running amok? I mean, before it had to be printed in a physical paper that was fact checked, and now you can just go down any rabbit hole on the internet.
Anything you want to believe is there for
I
you.
know.
Anything you want to believe, no matter how insane or ridiculous, you will find a community of people
Yeah.
who are like, finally, you've found us.
Did you like that highlight? I mean, how much fun was that? Why don't you watch a bunch more? We made a bunch more for you to watch. And then why don't you subscribe to my show? Subscribe to Where My Mom's At. That way, every time I drop an episode, you just get it. You don't have to think about it. And then hit the notification bell so you can get notified of all the great stuff that I make. Watch other highlight. Treat yourself. Get your life right.